to Yankee Sierra Sierra Yankee Sierra Yankee Delta, which is included in the sign up document and the event briefing document, which is in the pinned messages. I'm streaming now, Mr. Wong. Can you check if my stream is working on YouTube and stuff, and if my voice is okay there?
Okay, just hang on, please.
Okay, okay. Yeah, try to start this for Mr. Valencia, so that it's about the Eurocontrol IFPS workshop. I need a blank page.
So are you going to stream on Twitch as well? I mean on Discord as well, or
Yeah, I
only...
think so. I will stream at Discord and Twitch and YouTube.
Okay, Twitch and YouTube are all working.
With my voice, you mean?
Well, or are all working.
Okay, and now I'm on Discord as well. Guys, can you see my screen? Discord here?
Yeah.
Great. And that's all. We're just gonna start, and we're just gonna start this now. It's now 15:58 Zulu. We're just gonna start, and the first thing is event. The event is about from Ibiza to Sydney, but we will get back to the details about the event later. We will first just do the quick Eurocontrol IFPS workshop for Mr. Valencia, which he wants to, because he said he's gonna maybe leave. So, Valencia, are you there?
Oui, I'm right there.
Okay, great. So, like, we know there are a lot of rules for routing, and most times these rules for routings are not openly published, or it can be confusing when you are doing the routing procedure and you want to find a realistic route that conforms to all the rules of the controlling facilities. But in Europe, what's great about it is that they have this system which is called the IFPS, which is for short, which is an integrated flight planning system for short. And what it does is that it can validate your route. You can just input your flight plan, and it can validate your route. If there's anything wrong with your route, it can point out the problem so you can fix it. And if your validation is successful, then you will know that your route is good to go. So we just like using our route for this event as an example. We want to depart from Ibiza and to Sydney, but we are only focusing on the European portion of the route, which will be basically from Ibiza through the Italian and Greece airspace, and it will be through the Cyprus airspace, and that from there into the Middle East. So first thing, of course, we want to plan the departure procedure. And the departure procedure we're going to be using for this event is the Cabaret departures, which are the only departure from Ibiza towards the northeast direction. And we also want to join the airway Uniform Mike 871, which is the southernmost airway within the French airspace here. We want to join the southernmost airway because that is the closest airway from our Great Circle route between Ibiza and Sydney. And the problem is, if we fly other departure fixes like the Menorca VOR, it does not connect with the Uniform Mike 871 airway, which is at the very south. So what can we do in this case? The good thing is that we have we can use some directs in the Eurocontrol airspace, which is, oops, I'm gonna have to bring that out, which is, I mean, here, Eurocontrol directs. maybe I can just load this and just download this. And what it shows that it happens to have those direct options available from our departure fix, which is Cabaret. And these direct options are again is shown in the official Eurocontrol chart, which is really good because it details all the directs that's available within the entire Eurocontrol airspace. And it allows us to fly Cabaret, which is the departure fix, direct SOTAX, which is the waypoint that connects with Uniform Mike 871. So that's something that we can plan. Also, if you have PFPX, this software, you have board that software and installed it, you will also see that some of the directs are shown in IFPS, but not all of them. For example, in this case, the direct from Cabaret that we will be using is not shown in IFPS. So in that case, what really will help you is the direct, the Eurocontrol direct chart, which I'm gonna send to you Discord, which would always contain the newest information. And of course, it's gonna be updated. Not monthly, but it can be updated. Be kept up to date for Eurocontrol, guys. And after that, we're just gonna plan the route. We have the departure procedure at Cabaret and direct SOTAX, and we fly the Uniform Mike 871 to Xatos. And then before we can go to Cyprus and Middle East, we run into a problem. Is that this route, it's almost stops, it disconnects at the Italian airspace border over Sardinia, and it takes a sharp detour to the south, which we do not like. So in this case, what can we do? Do we have to take this detour via this route that makes our journey longer, or can we fly a shorter route? Well, actually, we can, because within Eurocontrol airspace, there are a lot of airspace which are known as FRAs, or free route airspace. Within those airspace, what basically is going on is that they allow random routing, or just basically any directs. You can fly random waypoints that whatever route you want to fly, just direct waypoint, or you can even direct from the entry boundary of the FIR to the exit point of the FIR, and in between them you just fly direct. So that would be something that's really great for flight planning, and it is also included detailing a chart. It's also detailing a chart which is published by Eurocontrol. This is their master Eurocontrol route network chart, which you can see all the FRAs are marked in green. This chart is really, it's really taxing on the computer. I don't know if it's because I've turned on streaming, but actually we can also see these FRAs in the direct chart, the chart with directs that I just showed you guys. And they are also marked with green. There are two types of FRAs, which is one is available for 24 hours. The second is only available at night. So here we can see the entire Italian airspace is a free route airspace. So as well as the Greece airspace, which means we can fly direct within those two airspaces, fly whatever route we want. And also, but we see now that in Greece airspace there is an airway that's kinda direct. So that means we don't really need to fly direct route in Greece airspace because that won't make such a big difference. But it does make a big difference if we use the direct routing in Italy, like what I did here. We try to fly. If we use this blank map. If we fly Xatos direct Nira, then we can basically cut a lot of distance from our journey, and after that we can continue to use the airway all the way to the Middle East. And after we have finished the airway, I'm gonna show you guys how to actually validate this thing, this thing with the Eurocontrol IFPS system, which is what we need to do. I'm also gonna show you, like, if there are errors, how do we fix those errors. Okay, now we are done with the route, and I will send you a link to the Eurocontrol's operations portal. And in this portal, what you can see is that there is this section for flight planning, and it includes a free text editor where you can just paste your ICAO flight plan into it. You paste your ICAO flight plan into it, and it can validate the route for you. And you must be asking, how can you get the ICAO flight plan, like the flight plan that's with the ICAO format? Well, it's really easy. You can just get it using IFPS or any other flight planning software that supports outputting a ICAO format flight plan. So using IFPS, I can just enter our route. Note something that's you don't have to really enter the entire route, because Eurocontrol, they only check for the routes within their airspace. They only check for the routes within Europe, so you don't have to really enter other routes that's like out that's beyond Europe, like in the Middle East or on the Indian Ocean. You don't have to enter them. You can just use the European portion, and then you can basically do the route validation, and then we click validate. It doesn't work here. It used to work within IFPS. Now it doesn't work, but we can of course go back to Eurocontrol website, and here you can see from the flight plan, if we click validate, it returns a lot of errors. Now I'm gonna go in detail about those errors and how can you just fix those errors and correct your route so that your route works good. These are error codes, and they also give you an error message that tells you like basically what the error is. And this is going to be the most simple type of error, which is just about the airway height. He's saying that NERA M601 route term does not exist in flight level range flight level 305. So if we go back to like your charts and you check the NERA to route route, you will see that its maximum altitude is flight level 305. You can see it on the screen. And it's the same case for all airways, all the ATS airways within Italy. Its top is flight level 305. So what he's saying is that it does not exist in flight level 305 to flight level 9er. Why doesn't it exist? Because above flight level 305, it is the free route airspace in Italy. This is how their airspace is structured in Italy. It's not the same thing in other countries, but in Italy, basically they have two parts of airspace. It's completely separate. Below flight level 305, you have airway structures, and above flight level 305, you only have directs. And because we are using the directs over Italy, we cannot use Mike 601 airway, which is a airway that's within the low level. It does not extend into the FRA, the free route airspace. Is stopped at flight level 305. So what we can do here, we can replace the Mike 601 part of our route to directs up until the Greece border, up until the border with Greece. So Rutum is the point that's on the Greece border. We replace the parts before that with all directs within Italy, and sure enough, okay, I typo here. Sure enough, this Rutum. Okay, CV knows this is different route designators. And sure enough, we see that the problem about altitude problem about Mike 601 over Italy is no longer there. But there are still some other problems. For example, this airway is over France is saying that a TICO uniform Mike A71 Xatos is a CDR3 in flight level range, which is basically order range. He's talking about this part of the airway before we enter Italy. It's over France, over the Mediterranean. So what does that mean? What is a CDR3? A CDR means a conditional route, which means this route is only available conditionally, and the worst type of conditional route will be a CDR3, which means it's not available during most of the time, and it's only available during certain times, which is the case for the airway uniform Mike 380A71. These restrictions, they can be found, sometimes it's even included in the PFPX. But let's say that you don't have PFPX installed, then what can you do if you don't have PFPX installed? The Eurocontrol has a document which is called the RAD. This document is a huge document that's published by Eurocontrol. It includes all the routing restrictions and all the other stuff that you need to plan your flight. And what you can do is that you have the output from PFPX system, and they gave you this code. A lot of cases they gave you this code, a code that's showing you an error, like this code here. It's basically like LID 40 alpha, LID 40 alpha Romeo. These codes are indexes to the RAD within the document. And what you can do is you can search those code. After you search the code, you can just go into the relevant part within the RAD, and you can see the details about this restriction. It said it's a CDR3. It's not available Monday through Friday during these times. It's completely detailed. Traffic is not allowed to fly plane across the area Monday and Friday. Of course, you can also see it in PFPX. They have this restriction written in PFPX, not available from Monday through Friday 4 to 22 Zulu. But just saying that sometimes PFPX does not have the complete information. That time you need to consult the RAD document. And so what do we do about it? Actually, you see, our flight is not during Monday to Friday. Our flight is on Saturday. Our flight is on Saturday. So how do we just get rid of this error? In the flight plan, there's an item towards the end of the flight plan, which is the DOF. That's the date of flight. We can just change this to August 29th. Now it's 28th. We change it to 29th, which is our actual day of flight, and our departure time, which is here, LEIB. We enter the correct departure time with 12 Zulu, and click validate. Surely, it's gone. All the route restrictions and the CDR is gone after we use the available time for the route, which is in Saturday. And we only have now 2 errors. One saying Lanarka Romeo 605. That's, wait a second. Lanarka Romeo 605. Actually, yeah, that's the incorrect route designator. We just replace it to the right route designator, then it should work. Okay. It's just Mike 601. That's the correct route identifier. Okay, now there's only one error left, which is saying that traffic via Xatos is on forbidden route. Well, this is kind of the most confusing type of error you will ever run into during your flight planning with IFPS. Because it's saying a forbidden route, but how is it forbidden? How should you route if this option is forbidden? Well, what you can do is that, again, you have this error code, which you can then copy, paste into the RAD document, and search, and surely the detail comes up. Xatos is not available for traffic above flight level 305, which is for us, but there's an exception, except via IBREP. And surely the waypoint of Ibrap is right next to Casetos. If we plan through Ibrap after Casetos direct Ibrap, and then continue to direct over the Italian FRA airspace, and we click validate, and we get no errors. You can see in the RD document they even gave you the reasoning for those restrictions. They even give you the reasoning, which is way better than some countries, which is basically practicing secretism during their airspace operation. They even gave you the reasoning here, the letter of agreement between Maceo ACC and Roma ACC. But basically now we have fixed all the problems with our route. So repeating a couple of details: the direct routing we used for the departure, and the Italian airspace, which the FRA free route airspace above flight level 305. That's why we cannot use any airways, and we can use the airways only below flight level 305. That's why in our briefing document, we have included this special section: alternative routing over Roma FIR for flights unable flight level 310 or higher initially. And we gave them an alternative routing which is not direct, but following ATS airways over Italy, and the maximum altitude allowed is flight level 305. So the free route airspace and the airway structure is separate, and you need to fly one of them depending on the altitude you're crossing the airspace, which is not exactly the same case all across Europe. In some other countries that you can fly FRA and fly airway at the same altitude. You don't have to choose one of the or the other. But basically, that's basically what we are going to talk about the Eurocontrol IFPS system using our route today. Any questions? Okay, it took like 20 minutes.
No.
It took like 20 minutes, and next up, we're gonna just discuss the event. If there's no problem, Mr. Valencia or anyone, there's no problem. We just gonna move on from the Eurocontrol problems, and we can move on to the event discussion. Mr. Wang, maybe you can do tell us about the event information and about the the gates and performance issues at Ibiza. Can you maybe do that?
Yeah, I can try, but I'm on a different device, so maybe.
The thing is,
it's
just too difficult because I'm just so tired right now. But I mean, maybe you can just keep your mic unmuted. Is that okay?
Okay.
So the event was from tomorrow, Saturday, August 19th, 12 Zulu to August 30th, 07 Zulu. And please note that this is long, but it's not particularly time constrained. You can even depart at 13 Zulu from Ibiza, and you can still reach Sydney in time because this event is not really time constrained. But we do suggest you to get online early. We do suggest you to get online early is because the situation in Ibiza with the available parking spots. Can you explain this to us?
Yeah, there are only 4 gates in Ibiza, and the parking spots, even excluding the gates, is not very. The situation is not very good because the apron is kind of small. So, we all bring heavy aircraft. So, if we show up late, there's a high chance that all the spots are taken.
Yeah, so if we plan for 12 Zulu, I think that'd be good. Why is that guy sending a different route? I'm gonna give him the correct route, right?
Yeah, maybe he's just trying to get a route and.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
Shall we continue our briefing?
We continue our briefing. That's the route we're using. Just trying to tell it to you. We can continue the briefing. We have covered the departure procedure already during our Eurocontrol stuff. We covered the departure procedure already. You know that the procedure is gonna be the carbureted departure, which is available for both runways. It's the carbureted departure, and then direct. So tax, yeah, that's basically what we are gonna use. And the arrival procedure at Sydney is gonna be the arrival procedure, which starts at the rivet point, and goes to TSAT. There you can see there is a couple some kind of detour over Sydney. Before I arrive at Sydney, there is this kind of detour that takes us south, which is not the best stuff. I know it's not the best stuff, but that's the best we can do. That's what the Australian guy told us, that we can only do this arrival because there is no other arrival fixes on the west side. Like the only available arrival fixes on the west side will be rivet. That's why we need to. The only available arrival fix will be rivets. That's why we need to do this detour from Parks then to Sydney, and so that's it. And from the route we are using, I just sent the route into the flight planning section. We used to have two routes. But the second southern route is just we removed it from our consideration. We think we're just gonna use the northern option of the route because it has more highlights. Basically, the southern route is just sea and sea. It's just open ocean, nothing else. So we just use the northern route, and the southern route is not particularly faster than the northern route. So there's not really a point to fly the southern route. So that's basically the route we're gonna be using. And also the alternative routing, as we have discussed, is over the Roma FIR. If you can't fly high enough to go into the free route airspace, you need to fly the airway in Roma FIR. If you're flying below Flywheel 310. And it's going to be, of course, surely it's going to be longer, obviously, than flying direct in Roma FIR. And about the aircraft choice, we have actually detailed it in the document about how long can the aircraft fly, which kind of aircraft is gonna be long enough for the route and also gonna have enough performance to actually take off from the runway at Ibiza. Is there something you want to add on the aircraft performance and tips for pilots? Because yeah, of course, this is important for safety reasons.
Yeah, it's recommended that all pilots should take off from the end of the runway, of course, and with full thrust settings, no derate takeoff. Also, we should use full flap, not necessarily full flap, but the highest usable flap setting for takeoff, as it reduces the length requirement quite significantly.
Yeah, we are recommending you to make sure you calculate the takeoff performance carefully, using a software such as TopCat, or if you have you have a EFB included in your aircraft. Like if you are flying a 747-8i, or you're flying a 787 F787, you're flying a A350. Those aircrafts includes an EFB that's in the cockpit, which can be used for performance calculation. Then you can use the EFB to calculate takeoff performance, or you use TopCat. The thing is that please be sure to check the most optimum flap setting. Check the best flap setting that's gonna give you the best weight, and of course you're gonna use the full thrust. But the flap setting is gonna be, you need to check the most optimum. It depends on the aircraft. It's certainly not gonna be the lowest flap setting, but it could not. Maybe it won't be the highest flap setting. So you need to find the most optimum flap setting for your aircraft. That's the thing that you need to do, and that's one issue out of the way. And can we move on to, we are down with the two airports. Is there any other problem with the airports? If there's no other problem with airports, we can move on to the weather depiction. Great, thank you. We're gonna move on to the wait a second. meteorological forecast. Just to confirm, because I'm gonna do something now. I'm gonna show you charts. Can you see my screen now?
Affirmative.
Okay, so 2 parts. First arrival, actually 3 parts. First arrival airport, first departure airport, second arrival airport, thirdly the en route weather. We're gonna go through this quickly. The departure airport is in Europe, Ibiza, which is in the west side of the Mediterranean, within the Balearic Islands, the island of Ibiza. And it just give you guys a basic idea of the weather we can expect during our departure. Our departure is around 12 Zulu Saturday, and if you guys can see it here, there are a lot of not a lot of precipitation, which is forecasted north of the Balearic Islands. It's not exactly right on top of Ibiza, but it's just something to keep in mind, because we do expect there will be some kind of precipitation, but it won't be right on top of us, so like we are mostly good. And we also have this wind forecast that we'll be able to see, which basically it forecasts a northerly direction of wind in Ibiza during our event. It forecasts a northerly direction of wind, which means the wind comes from the north, and in that case that means it's likely that we will use runway 06 for departure to get the headwind. Please remember that due to the weight and the short runway, tailwind takeoff is just not an option. Just don't even think about it. You cannot take off with a tailwind. It's gonna kill people if you take off with a tailwind. So that's one of the problems. I'm gonna ask the ATC to not give us any tailwind takeoff. I'm sure they won't give us, just in case, but that's something to keep in mind. Never take off with a tailwind under this kind of circumstance, and use the full thrust. So that's the weather situation in Europe. We go back to Australia, which is it's mostly clear, the weather in Australia. The arrival time is around 6 Zulu. It's actually 7 Zulu, but it's around 6 Zulu on Sunday, August 30th. And Sydney, on the southeastern coast of Australia, is mostly clear. It's just forecasted to be like almost completely clear, if that's what we are trying to see here. And the forecasted wind, it's a light, gentle wind. So, and for gentle wind, it also could change. So we are not making any like wind or runway prediction at this point. Now we can just move on to the. So basically, both the airports does not have like a huge weather problem, not like a hurricane or a tropical cyclone that's inbound. There's no such stuff. And also, for the en route weather part, we do not expect any tropical cyclone to exist or even to develop in Indian Ocean, let alone along our route of flight. So no tropical cyclones there. It's all good. But it's the Indian Ocean. It's tropical. It's summer. It's the summer. And you need to expect something, some storms, some thunderstorms on your route, some towering thunderstorms on your route, which again is forecasted over the Indian Ocean. We'll switch to the simulated infrared. Display here. Simulated infrared display, and from the simulated infrared display, you can see that we do expect some type of storm over west of India, over the Arabian Sea, and some stuff that's south of Sri Lanka and over the Indian Ocean there, which our route does go through part of it. So just keep that in mind. That's where we will be expecting some weather situation en route. It's when we cross the equator, which is something to be expected. So we are also done with the weather part, and we're done with the procedure part. We're done with IFPS. We're just gonna explain the route briefly if you guys need that, and the highlights along the route. from Ibiza, the European part we already discussed during our when we talked about Eurocontrol stuffs. So we do go through the Balearic Islands, and then the Sardinia of Italy, and then we go through the Italy mainland, and we go through Greece and the Greek islands over the Aegean Sea, and then we go through Cyprus, and then it's Lebanon. It's Lebanon and it's Syria. After Syria, we go through Iraq. Just please do know that this is a conflict zone in real life, but we do not really simulate conflicts in vacuum, so there's that. That's why we are choosing this route. We do go through Iraq, through the Mesopotamia area, and we'll be going along the river of Euphrates until we reach the mouths of those two rivers and into the Gulf of Persia, the Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf, whatever you call it, and we'll follow the airway that's off the shore of Iran. We will see a lot of those islands in the Gulf, which is not something you can see every day, these Gulf islands. Then we go almost right across the Dubai area, and go onto the Indian Ocean. We'll make landfall and go through the Indian continent. After that, we just pass north of Bangalore, and we will pass through Chennai. After that, we go onto the Bay of Bengal. We'll see some. We will basically fly past the islands of Indonesia. We'll basically fly past the islands of Indonesia, getting us really close to Java Island and Jakarta, where someone can hopefully join us from there. And after that, it's just Australia. We will make landfall in Australia at Broome, the city of Broome, the town of Broome on the northwest coast, and we will see some highlights in Australia, which includes, of course, the Ayers Rock or Uluru, which is going to be the most important highlights in our route, maybe. And it's also symbol is a great it's a great symbol for the Australia as a nation as a whole. It's really symbolic of Australia as a nation as a whole. So there's something we'll be able to see the Uluru Ayers Rock. And after that, we'll also go through the dry lake of Lake Eyre. And to see these highlights, these dry lakes and Ayers Rock, to see them in their best, I guess what you need is the ORBX Australia version 2 scenery, which again, I'm not really trying to promote it, but yeah, just saying that's the scenery, the to-go scenery if you want to see the full beauty of the Australian outback and the highlights here. And then we will just use the transition route for the arrival into Sydney, and we go into Sydney, which again we have discussed the arrival procedure, whether it's going to be good, and the event at Sydney is going to last between 6 Zulu and 8 Zulu, so if you get there by 8 Zulu, it's going to be all good, which should be plenty of time if you depart at 12 Zulu or even 13 Zulu from Ibiza. Just get Sydney by 8 Zulu and you're fine. I guess most of us is going to get there by 7 Zulu, so that's basically everything we need to, we have covered and we need to cover for the event. For questions and comments, you can ask now, which is best, or you can also ask in the chat, which we will be happy to answer as soon as possible. Just now, don't make it too close to the event, which is obviously going to be more difficult for us to. It's going to be busier. And anything you want to add, Mr. Wong?
Not really. It was a great briefing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think I did this thing Yeah, I didn't really prepare for it. So it's an ad hoc briefing, and I think it went better than I expected. And the guys, other guys in the briefing room, are just gonna wait a couple of minutes to see if you have anything you want to add or ask. If not, we're just gonna close it here, and we'll see you there on Saturday. I'll end the stream now. For anyone watching on YouTube or what's that called? Twitch. Okay. See you guys, and if you want to join the event, make sure you check our Discord. Go to our Discord and you can get the sign up